The Nigerian prince scam used to be a joke, but now, with AI, it has evolved into something terrifyingly sophisticated. Usually, it begins with an email, a plea for help, wrapped in royal desperation, promising millions in return for a simple act of trust. I am Prince Adebayo Okonkwo, the last surviving son of His Royal Majesty. My family's fortune is frozen, and only you can help. For decades, the infamous Nigerian prince scam preyed on hope and greed, luring victims with tales of lost wealth and urgent transfers. But what started as a poorly written email has now transformed into something far more sophisticated and far more dangerous. Today, scammers no longer just write to you. They can speak to you in real time, mimic familiar voices, and even forge video evidence. This is the story of how a decades-old con evolved from dusty inboxes to high-tech deception, where seeing is no longer believing. And if you think you're too smart to fall for it, think again. Glenda spent years in silence after losing her husband. After losing her husband of 50 years, the loneliness had become unbearable. While looking for companionship, a charming American engineer in his 60s working in Nigeria on a lucrative contract found her online, showered her with admiration, and reignited a spark she thought was gone. Their talks became daily talks. His deep, reassuring voice spoke of love, dreams, and a future together. Then came the first plea for help. Richard told her he was facing a temporary financial setback. A bank error had frozen his funds, and he needed just a small loan to cover some expenses. It was only a few $100s, nothing serious. Just a favor between partners. Of course, she would help. But then there was another issue, a medical emergency. Then a problem with customs at the airport. Each request was urgent, each one accompanied by apologies and endless gratitude. By the time she realized how much she had sent, it was too late. Thousands of dollars gone, her savings drained. But Richard didn't just want her money. He needed her help in another way. One day, a package arrived for Glenda. Richard explained it was for a business deal, just some paperwork that needed to be forwarded to his partners in another country. She didn't understand all the details, but she wanted to help. She had to help. More packages arrived. Then, large sums of money began passing through her account. Richard told her it was normal, that everything was above board. However, she never questioned it. After all, she loved him. Then came the day when her world was destroyed. The feds came knocking, and the accusations didn't make sense. Money laundering, fraud, but the evidence was undeniable. Unknowingly, she had been working as a money mule, helping to launder money for a massive international scam operation. The funds she had received and forwarded were stolen. The packages she sent contained fraudulent documents. Glenda lost everything, her money, her reputation, and almost her freedom. However, Glenda's story isn't the first. Every year, thousands fall victim to romance scams, losing not just their money, but their dignity, their trust, and in some cases, their freedom. The Nigerian prince scam is more than just a ridiculous email in your spam folder. Officially known as a 419 scam named after Nigeria's fraud laws, had been a plague on the internet for decades. But surprisingly, it's not just Nigeria. Variations of this scam have surfaced in Spain, the Netherlands, Poland, Jamaica, and beyond. And for the record, Nigeria has never even had a royal family. Long before emails and the internet, there was another version of this infamous con. A scam so old, yet so effective, that it has survived for over a century. It was called the Spanish prisoner swindle, and it first appeared in the early 1900s. Instead of an email, victims received a carefully worded letter. Instead of a Nigerian prince, there was a foreign nobleman, supposedly locked away for political reasons, who just happened to know the whereabouts of a lost fortune. But there was a catch. Before the victim could claim their share of the treasure, they needed to send money to help the nobleman escape. The result is that the money vanished, the nobleman never existed, and the victim was left with nothing but regret. Over a century later, the scam remains virtually unchanged. Only now, the con artists don't need postage stamps. They have the internet. And instead of letters, they have emails, voice calls, and deep-fake videos. When the internet was born, so was a new breed of deception. The imprisoned nobleman of the past was rebranded, a Nigerian prince with a fortune to share. And in those early days of cyberspace, people believed anything was possible. A message from a foreign royal? A hidden treasure? Who was to say it wasn't real? As time passed, scammers refined their craft. The fairy tale of lost royalty gave way to more heart-wrenching tragedies. War victims, desperate widows, struggling businessmen. The names and locations changed, but the script remained the same. Send money now, and riches will follow. Some fraudsters even erased all traces of nobility in Africa, making the scam harder to spot. And it worked. Over $2.5 billion has been stolen through 419 scams in just the last decade. But why do people keep falling for it? Social engineering. Scammers don't need to hack bank accounts when they can hack minds, manipulating human trust with nothing more than words on a screen. The biggest con of all, making the victim believe they are the one in control. Meanwhile, back in those days, these messages aren't just poorly written by accident. The grammatical errors, awkward phrasing, and broken English aren't flaws. They are filters used to separate the skeptical, the cautious, and the critical thinkers, leaving behind only the most susceptible and gullible victims. At first glance, 419 scam emails seem laughable, riddled with typos, clunky grammar, and obvious mistakes. But scammers aren't stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. Their goal isn't to trick the intelligent or the skeptical. They don't want the victims who ask too many questions. If you roll your eyes and delete the email, you were never the target. But if you keep reading, believe in the fairy tale, you have just selected yourself as the perfect match. And there's another layer to this deception. The broken English isn't just a test, it's a part of the act. If a scammer claims to be from a foreign country, it makes sense that their English is imperfect. It adds authenticity, and even more dangerously, it makes the scammer seem harmless. Victims might assume this person isn't smart enough to trick me. Some even believe they can outsmart the scammer, turning the tables, only to end up being played themselves. Then there's the lottery effect, that intoxicating belief that maybe, just maybe, this time it's real. After all, someone has to win the jackpot, right? This blind hope shuts down logic and fuels the scammer's success. And that's exactly what the fraudsters count on. Now, with AI making the lies more convincing than ever, anyone can be a victim, even you. Over the years, AI has become the center of a global conversation that is praised for its efficiency and feared for its potential. But while businesses and individuals use AI for progress, criminals are using the same technology to deceive, manipulate, and exploit. AI-powered chatbots have now become the cyber criminal's best weapon. Phishing scams that were once riddled with bad grammar and obvious red flags are now nearly impossible to spot. AI crafts flawless emails, mimicking banks, bosses, even loved ones, making fraud more convincing and more dangerous than ever. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine getting a panicked call from your child or spouse, begging for help. Their voice is perfect, their fear is real, but it's all a lie. AI-powered voice scams, or vishing, can clone a voice from just seconds of audio, tricking victims into sending more money in sheer panic. And now, deepfake videos are taking scams to another level. A trusted CEO, a world leader, a celebrity. You see them, hear them, trust them, but it's not real. AI has stitched together a perfect illusion designed to steal, deceive, and destroy. But what happens when we can no longer trust our own eyes and ears? When artificial intelligence became widely known, some experts made a prediction. Cybercriminals would use AI to supercharge phishing attacks. The prediction wasn't just correct, it underestimated the scale of the threat. Nowadays, spear phishing is no longer clumsy or obvious. Scammers use AI to craft flawless, personalized emails, pulling from social media and leaked data to make them nearly impossible to spot. Even the most cautious fall for them. Social media giants fight back with AI-powered security and takedown efforts, but the truth is clear: the scammers are still winning. In 2023 alone, LinkedIn reported removing 86.8 million fake accounts, with over 90% caught at registration. Facebook, facing an even bigger onslaught, took down a staggering 2.6 billion fake accounts in a single year. While LinkedIn and Facebook are catching fakes, other platforms are a goldmine for cybercriminals. Take Telegram, for example. Job scam offers flood the app daily, sent by recruiters who insist on only communicating through Telegram. The reason is because it requires no verification, no accountability, no way to confirm who's really behind the screen. The same happens with text message job scams. A message pops up offering an incredible opportunity, but the sender is a nameless, faceless predator waiting for a victim to take the bait. But this is just one aspect of AI scams. Fake news isn't new, but with the AI-powered disinformation, it has become terrifyingly believable, scalable, and unstoppable. These days, AI writes news articles in seconds, filled with realistic details and fake expert quotes. They can also create deep fake videos of trusted figures, making them say things they never did. One false AI-generated article once crashed a cryptocurrency. Investors panicked, sold at a loss, only to realize it was all a lie. But AI fraud doesn't stop at the news. Scammers use synthetic identity theft to create entirely fake people, mixing stolen social security numbers with fabricated details. No frantic victims, no stolen credit cards, just a ghost in the system, quietly building credit until the moment they vanish, leaving banks to foot the bill. Now, deepfake scams are turning reality into a weapon. AI can map your face onto explicit content, clone your voice for fake phone calls, or generate hyper-personalized threats using details from your online life. Chatbots send blackmail emails at scale, while voice cloning tools impersonate loved ones or law enforcement. So when reality itself can be faked, how do you prove your innocence? Once upon a time, spotting a scam was easy. Bad grammar, clunky emails, and absurd offers were dead giveaways. Not anymore. Now, AI-powered scams are hyper-personalized. They mimic trusted voices, scan social media for intel, and craft messages that feel eerily real. You might get a call that sounds exactly like a loved one, a boss, or a bank, urging immediate action. It's urgent, it's emotional, and it's fake. Moreover, the language is professional, the tone seems genuine, but that's another red flag. Scammers know how to manipulate language to evoke emotion, using urgency, fear, and flattery. AI, in its current state, can replicate the exact emotional tone necessary to persuade you, but it doesn't have the human touch. However, since the pandemic of the Nigerian prince has been in existence, why haven't banks found a way to stop them? First, let's talk about the size of the problem. Scam techniques are evolving faster than any system built to stop them. Banks, governments, and law enforcement are still trying to catch up with the scale and sophistication of fraud, and they are losing ground. For starters, technology is on the side of the scammer. AI tools, machine learning, and automation have made fraud more accessible than ever. The same tools banks use to secure transactions can be hijacked by criminals to create more convincing scams, from AI-powered phishing emails to deep-fake videos and voice cloning. In other words, scammers don't need to be tech experts. They just need access to the right tools. With AI making fraud faster, cheaper, and more scalable, it's become a numbers game, and the criminals are winning. The way scams work has become harder to track and understand. Banks and governments are forced to look for patterns in data they can't fully control. Transaction histories, user behaviors, personal information. All of it is constantly in motion. Hackers don't need to go after massive databases anymore. Instead, they prey on individual trust, tricking people into giving up what they've worked hard for. And those trust-based scams like social engineering and phishing are incredibly difficult to identify before the damage is done. How do you protect against someone you trust being tricked? Banks, already overwhelmed with many fraudulent attempts, face a tough challenge: balancing security with customer experience. They don't want to block legitimate transactions, but scammers are getting better at bypassing systems. That's why you still see scam calls, fake invoices, and phishing emails making it past filters. The human element is always the weakest link, and when a victim is emotionally manipulated, traditional methods of fraud prevention can't keep up. As for the governments, they are even further behind. Legislation lags behind technology, leaving regulators scrambling to catch up. Governments are fighting a war on multiple fronts: fraudulent claims, money laundering, and identity theft. But they often lack the resources to investigate the massive volume of scams reported daily. Moreover, the global nature of the internet means that international collaboration is slow and often inefficient. And with each passing day, it becomes clearer that the current systems in place aren't enough to protect us. Meanwhile, to avoid the pitfalls of the Nigerian prince, MasterCard's consumer fraud risk system is here to change the game. And right now, it's in the hands of the banks. Powered by AI and real-time payment data, MasterCard has created a system that acts as a silent means of analyzing transactions to detect scams before a penny leaves the victim's account. For consumers, it's a moment of relief. For banks, it's an opportunity to intervene in real time, requesting extra verification and buying valuable seconds to stop fraud in its tracks. As AI continues to evolve, scammers will only get smarter. Beware, because the next wave of fraud won't rely on clumsy grammar and rough emails. The Nigerian prince is back, but this time he has AI. Are you ready?